Hey, top students, this is a special message about math. Let's talk about math. And the question that I'm asking myself is, why are math scores low? Now, the way that the state kind of judges us is really on two different criteria. What percentage of the students score proficient or advanced on the EOC? And based on their magical mathematical thing that considers what growth is for students, how much did you grow? Now, for growth in mathematics, last year we got a 2 out of a 5. That's not awful, it's below expectations, but it's not as bad as having a 1, which means you're really off the charts. We're almost there to having a 3 for numeracy, which means they're Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 combined. Now let's look and see how we improved over a year. Our first year, 2012-2013, in Algebra 1, we only had 10% or 9.7% of our students who were proficient or advanced. In Algebra 1, that grew last year to 52.5. So as you can see, it's a big jump up. Will we have a big jump up again this year in 2014-2015? Hope so. In Algebra 2, in 2012-2013, we had 0% of students who were proficient or advanced. In 2013-2014, that jumped up to 46.2%, which is about the same average as most schools. Will we jump up again this year? Well, I hope so. But we can only look at us. I don't care what everybody else does. I don't care what other schools do. I don't care what brick and mortar schools do. I only care about what we do. And here are some trends that I see with math that cause us to have low scores. First of all, I see a bad attitude about math. It's called self-defeating attitude. I suck at math. I've always been awful at math. I don't do good at math. Hear that all the time. So first of all, if that is the place where you're coming from, then none of these other behaviors make sense. For example, I suck at math, therefore I'm going to put math off to the last minute, doesn't make any sense. If you realize that you're not good at math, you should do math first. That way you can ask all the questions you need to ask. You should do math first. That way you have more time to understand it. You should do math first because that will help you work on it throughout the entire week. And then other subjects that you are good at, or so you claim, you'll have more, you'll be able to do those, when you want to. Another bad habit that leads to our low math scores is students are not working on math every single day. Now, of course, all of you teenagers make wonderful lawyers, and you're going to come back with, well, you don't make us work on it every day. Shouldn't have to. Because if I make you work on math every single day, I'm going to make you work on everything else every single day, and then we lose our flexibility, which I think is one of the great things about online school. But you, as someone who takes pride in what you do and how you do, you should work on math every single day. Something I totally can't control is the next one, and you should be thinking about math every single day. How is what you're learning in algebra apply to real life? Now, you'll see all sorts of memes and hear all sorts of old people say, well, I ain't never used algebra one day. It's not true. Algebraic thinking covers a lot more than just the direct application of math to real life. You need to be looking for those ways. Maybe you can be the person that explains to the world how algebra is part of every bit of daily life, because it certainly is. Another bad habit, only completing math assignments but not internalizing and learning math concepts. Now, we certainly do our best to make sure that you internalize and learn math concepts, but it's really up to you. It's all about attitude. If your attitude is, well, I just want to get this stuff over with, then you're not really going to internalize it. You're not really going to learn it. And so you're still going to be stuck over where you said you were in the very beginning, which is bad at math and hate math. If you adjust your attitude and think, you know what, I'm going to be awesome at this, because a lot of people aren't. And certainly all of my classmates say they aren't. So I want to be the one that's really good at it. I want to be the one that explains it to everybody. I want to be the one that helps my little brother next year. I want to be the one that, shows off to my parents how well I do at math. If you change your attitude, then a lot of things are going to change as well. Another thing, and this one makes me want to pull my hair out, not trying very hard on the EOC. Now, the EOC is a big deal. Do I think it should be a big deal? No. I think it should be a test that we just kind of look at and decide, well, we really need to do a better job at teaching this or that. I think students would perform better if those were the stakes for the test. But what happens is students get into the EOC, bad attitude about math already, bad attitude about having to show up one day out of the entire semester to take a test, and they do poorly on it. Now, how do I know that they didn't do as well as they could have? Well, one way to know is if you make a 500 on the test, which sounds awesome out of a 100-point scale, but it's not out of a 100-point scale. So if you make a 500 on the test, that means you absolutely didn't get anything right. Well, there's no student in this school that couldn't get at least one or two questions right. So if you do a 500, that means that you just basically Christmas treed the whole thing, or zigzagged. I was always a zigzagger and not a Christmas treer. Now, what are the consequences of that? These scores are the consequence of that. When I see students who made really good grades or decent grades in the class and they did poorly on their EOC, that tells me one of two things. Either they're the worst test taker in the world, or they just didn't, they just didn't try. And so that not only impacts your grade, 25% of your grade, that impacts your teacher, 50% of how they're evaluated, what kind of job did they do. Then it affects me, because it's 50% of my job, how good of a job did I do. Then it's our entire school. And those results are posted publicly. I posted them in the parent group yesterday. So, the next thing is not using a calculator. Hold on. Sorry about that. The next thing is not using a calculator. Now, Mr. Lamy provides you with a free emulator, and we provide you with calculators at your testing. But if you're a freshman in Algebra 1, you might as well buy a calculator. You might as well, because you're going to be using it not only through high school math, but you'll be using it through college math, and when you're done with it, you can sell it. You can find them online for a decent price. Try to find one used. And I don't mean just a little solar-powered calculator. I'm talking like a TI-83 or a TI-84. Now, consider this. We don't make you pay to come to school here. We don't make you pay student fees. We don't make you pay activity fees. You don't have to pay for extracurricular activities. There is absolutely zero that you have to pay for to come to TOPS. So I would expect you to buy a calculator. I just expect it. Now, I'm not going to make you, because it's your own personal choice. But I would expect you to do it because you want to be really good at math. There are things in Algebra 2 that if you don't have a calculator, take 2 hours to do. If you have a calculator, they take 30 seconds. You should buy a calculator, or borrow one, or do something. Do something other than not having one. At least use the emulator that Mr. Lamy and Miss Lily provide you. So that way you understand how to use the calculator. The last two are sort of the same thing, but a little bit different. The first thing is admitting defeat instead of fighting as hard as you can with math. Again, you start out with, I suck at math. Then you go to, I hate math. And then you're like, I'm going to wait to do it at the last minute. And oh, big deal, I've got a lousy grade. Now, that's the thing, is that you are not setting yourself up to be successful. The thing that you're doing is making yourself even worse. And the reason that human beings do this in the first place is because you can't fail that way. Now, what do you mean? I might fail the class if I don't do any work. Exactly. But that's not like you tried and failed. It's you just let yourself fail to begin with, which is somehow psychologically more appealing to us than trying and failing. But it's bad logic. All you have to do is do your work. Start at the beginning of the week and ask questions and schedule office hours with Miss Lily or Mr. Lamy. That's all you have to do. You will get it. They will make sure that you get it. And if you put in the effort on your part, you're going to get it. But that's the last one. A lot of you with math are not willing to put in the work that it requires. It's not the same as another subject. And all subjects are important to me. Trust me, I taught foreign language for years and, heard how useless it was. I ain't never going to speak French. Well, with that attitude, you're definitely not going to. But you have to be willing to put in the work that math requires, and that is every single day. Every day. It's that simple. Work on math every single day. I don't want to have a school where these are the number of students that are capable of performing adequately on the end of course exam in math. Everybody should have a proficient or advanced score in math because everybody in this school is certainly capable of it. That's the part that frustrates me. Every one of you is capable, but only half of you are getting the job done. And it's not all your fault. We run a loose ship here. We have flexible scheduling. We don't hound you about things, but we do have expectations. And the expectation is if you are going to come to this environment where you are free to work when you want to work, when it's convenient for you to work, and set a minimum expectation of things that are due every week, then we expect you, on the other hand, to put in the work that it requires to do well. Now, it sounds like I'm fussing, but I'm really just trying to motivate you. Hopefully, you see what I'm saying and it makes sense. And I didn't mention geometry because geometry is not a tested subject, but it will be next year. But I'm looking at these two subjects only. And I really want, for this freshman group who have never been to TOPS before, I want you guys to have 100% proficient and advanced on this test. This Algebra 2 group, many who have been at TOPS for a while, I want 100%. That's what I want. That's what I expect. If it's less than that, I'm going to be disappointed. Because right now, at the beginning of the year, you have the choice. You're either going to master this and you're going to do well, or you're just going to decide, you know what, I'm bad at math. I'm not going to try because if I try and I fail, I'm going to feel bad about myself. Doesn't make sense. So 100% everybody. 100%. And I'm not offering you a prize. I'm not going to give you a pie. I'm not going to, buy you a flock of chickens. But what I am going to do is pat you on the back and say, you know what, you did awesome. And I'm going to pat Miss Lily and Mr. Lamy on the back and say, you guys did an awesome job. And then I'm going to tell the entire state how awesome we are because we had 100% proficient or advanced in math. Those are just what I believe. And again, I'll do announcements later, but this is just a special math announcement. I hope everybody watches it. Hope you have a great day.